Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight we have breaking news just as we come on. The horror on the highways, the massive pileups. The images coming in now, blinding snow and dangerous winds from Michigan to Ohio to New York State. The driving conditions, multi-vehicle pileups across several states. In a chain reaction crash on Interstate 81 south of Syracuse. Buses helping to pick up the victims. Elsewhere, the deadly school bus crash. Passenger planes taking off in low visibility. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast tonight. Also breaking chaos erupting on the streets of Minneapolis. Another shooting there, a federal officer opening fire, wounding a man who DHS says fled from authorities. The clash then with protesters. Tonight, President Trump now threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, what this would allow him to do. And tonight here, the woman seen pulled from her car. We now hear from her what she says she told ICE agents as they tried to pull her out. To Trump, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado to the White House. She won the Nobel Peace Prize and she brought it to the White House, presenting it to President Trump in an effort to win him over. The president has said before, I can't think of anyone in history who should get the Nobel Prize more than me. Tonight, the major scandal. Have several college basketball games been fixed? Tonight, the players accused of underperforming in the games on purpose to get cash. Our investigative reporter, Aaron Katursky, on this tonight. This evening, a spectacular sight. 4 astronauts returning to Earth early. The first medical evacuation from the space station ever. And what we've learned. Tonight, actor Matthew McConaughey making news. All right. Taking action, what he's out to protect. Tonight, the images coming in, the dramatic exchange of gunfire. Deputies in a dangerous shootout with a suspect. 24 hours later, the refunds tonight for cell phone users who lost their service yesterday and how much you'll get. Also tonight, the armed robbery in New York City. Customers in the meatpacking district held at gunpoint. Tonight, the famous NFL coach fired, already in line for a new job. And it's the dinner hour, the restaurant server, and the embrace. You want to see this.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World.
On this Thursday night, a winter storm crashes into southern Ontario and Quebec. The chaos for drivers, flyers, and anyone else braving the elements.
That's a mess.
Turning around a turbulent relationship.
It's a partnership with New Focus.
The deals Canada just signed with China. Outrage over another ICE shooting in Minneapolis.
If they continue to rape our constitutional rights, we will defend the Constitution.
Why the U.S. president could invoke the Insurrection Act. Plus, guess who's been presented with the Nobel Peace Prize?
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. A winter storm is disrupting life for millions of people in parts of southern Ontario and Quebec. Getting around has been difficult. Up to 40 centimeters of snow has fallen in Toronto, and police are reporting more than 200 collisions. Schools and universities have canceled classes, and at Toronto's Pearson Airport, snowplows are hard at work. More than 500 flights have been canceled or delayed, causing a ripple effect of travel disruption across the country. Mike Armstrong has our top story tonight.
Before most of Toronto even woke up, the city already had a good buildup of snow. Getting around by car was difficult. By bicycle, pretty close to impossible.
Oh, having a hard time. I'm going to work. I'm going to be late.
It was clear early the day was going to be a challenge. Several school boards canceled classes, including the largest in Canada. The Toronto District Board told 235,000 students to stay home.
It's very difficult to operate an entire school system when your staff can't get to work.
Now, roads are very much the story of the day. For those those who ventured out, it was commute chaos. Toronto's LRT was shut down and buses were getting stuck.
So, European troops are in Greenland for a 2-day training mission after the White House met with Danish and Greenland officials this week.
The Vice President and the Secretary of State were present for that meeting. In that meeting, the two sides agreed to really establish a working group of individuals who will continue to have technical talks on the acquisition of Greenland. Those talks will take place, I'm told, every 2 to 3 weeks, but the President has made his priority quite clear. He wants the United States to acquire Greenland. He thinks it's in our best national security to do that. I don't think troops in Europe impact the President's decision-making process, nor does it impact his goal of the acquisition of Greenland at all.
Louisiana Governor, Special Envoy to Greenland, Jeff Landry, joins us now. Governor, what was accomplished, were you told? What was accomplished in those talks, were you told?
Look, I think they finally are having a serious discussion about what a association or cooperation or a relationship, a better relationship with Greenland looks like. Again, the president is serious about reinforcing the Monroe Doctrine. This is something that should have happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we'd have been having this discussion. It would have been a bipartisan position. Nobody would be complaining. They would say that the president is doing a great job to secure our homeland. Now, because it's President Trump, they just want to complain about it. This is an unbelievable deal. Anyone on the East Coast, Brian, should be concerned about this. The Chinese have built more icebreakers in 1 year than the United States has built in the history of the country. They're not building those icebreakers for fun. They're building them in order to be able to gain control of the Arctic. And the president knows that. And look, this is public knowledge. And so if you're on the East Coast, you want a stronger presence in Greenland.
So, Governor, the French send 13 people, the Germans send 15 people. They want to show a resolve to stand behind Denmark, who runs Greenland. Since we notice they have oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, and perfectly located to expand our Golden Dome system, do you think there's a deal to be done there? It seems as though we've gotten their attention. They're concerned about us just taking it. So do you think that there might be a sweet spot?
This is a president who masters deal making. And so, yes, I do believe that there's a deal that should and will be made once this plays out.
So when you see the fact that everyone seems so exercised by this, do you feel as though that makes the president dig in more, or does it make him want to come to the table?
Look, I think that the president is serious. I think he's laid the markers down. He's told Denmark what he's looking for. And now it's a matter of having Secretary Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance make a deal.
Space Command is there. We have...
It's 5 o'clock. This is the News Hour. I'm Jonathan Samuels. The headlines. The embattled West Midlands Police Chief Craig Guilford to retire with immediate effect following a damning report into his force's ban on Maccabi Tel Aviv fans.
It was important this matter was resolved in a balanced, calm, fair, measured and respectful manner.
7 nurses win their case against an NHS trust after a transgender colleague was allowed to use female changing rooms. I will return. Iran's crown prince says the regime is close to collapse and vows to become its new leader. Donald Trump threatens to impose tariffs on countries who oppose his plan to acquire Greenland. And Kemi Badenoch tells Sky News she's confident that Robert Jenrick will be the last Tory MP to defect to Reform. Hello, a very good evening, and we start with breaking news. Craig Guilford is to retire as Chief Constable of West Midlands Police with immediate effect. He had been under huge pressure to step down over the force's controversial decision to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from their match against Aston Villa. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, said he'd now done the right thing. The West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner, Simon Foster, made the announcement in the last hour.
The Chief Constable, Craig Guilford, has today retired from West Midlands Police with immediate effect. In doing so, he has acted with honour and in the best interests of West Midlands Police and our region. I welcome his decision. I'm pleased this outcome has been reached having regard to due process and the law. That has prevented what might otherwise have been a complex procedure that would have caused significant distraction, impact and cost to West Midlands Police and the wider West Midlands. It was important this matter was resolved in a balanced, calm, fair, measured and respectful manner. The Chief Constable's retirement follows the decision of the Birmingham City Council Safety Advisory Group, based on the recommendation of West Midlands Police, to ban away fans from attending the Europa League football match between Aston Villa and Maccabi Tel Aviv on the 6th of November 2025.
I'll catch you later.
Tonight, assessing the damage as the clean-up begins after Victoria's wild flash flooding. Also, faith leaders band together against the government's planned hate speech laws. South Korea's ex-president to be jailed for 5 years over his failed martial law bid. And the billionaire baseball debutante who stunned Australia's professional league. Good evening, welcome to ABC News. I'm Michael Tetlow. The massive clean-up along Victoria's Great Ocean Road has begun as residents and visitors come to terms with the devastation caused by extraordinary flash flooding. Up to 300 people have been displaced and 60 people were housed in relief centres. Incredibly, no one was reported missing or seriously injured, but multiple vehicles are still submerged in the ocean.
A muddy mess and summer getaways in ruins. The unbelievable scale of the destruction visible from the air.
There's silt everywhere, the mud, and there's just sort of carnage throughout the campsite.
Like many others, Lachlan's family car was swept out to sea yesterday.
To see the car start to float away was a bit of a moment. Just thinking, okay, how serious is this going to get?
Amid the emergency, police checked cars to make sure no one was stuck. The Wye River pub, along with surf clubs and community buildings, became a refuge.
Everyone just flooded through the doors. We had about maybe 600 people here.
A camera outside a Lawn supermarket captured the speed at which the water rose. 180 millimetres of water fell in just a matter of hours.
It sort of started to creep over and onto our things, and then all of a sudden we're in knee deep and then we're in hip deep. It was just incredibly fast.
Today, campers and locals picked through what was left of their belongings.
This is our fridge, and everything's in perfect condition.
The mop-up is now in full swing. Part of the Great Ocean Road is still closed, with authorities unable to get in and properly check this bridge at Cumberland River. The utter destruction caused by this flash flood is plain to see, with battered vehicles now scattering the beach here in Wye River. But equally obvious is the resilience of a community where the cleanup is only just getting started.
People really care about supporting each other.
Headlines: China and Canada have struck a preliminary trade deal after the two sides pledged to improve and reset their ties. Ottawa has agreed to cut its 100% levies on Chinese electric vehicles in return for lower tariffs on Canadian farm produce. Prime Minister Mark Carney made that announcement with Chinese President Xi Jinping during his visit to Beijing, marking what he calls the start of a new era of relations.
We must be pragmatic. That means we have to understand the differences between Canada and other countries, and then focus our efforts to work together where we're aligned. And it's with this approach that Canada is forging a new strategic partnership with China.
Myanmar has delivered part of its defense to the United Nations top court in a landmark case accusing the country of committing genocide. The International Court of Justice have been weighing allegations by the Gambia that Myanmar committed genocide. Dismissed, but as the military repercussions likely affecting South Africa's genocide case at the same court against Israel over the war in Gaza. A court in South Korea has sentenced former President Yoon Suk-yeol to 5 years in prison. He was found guilty of obstructing justice and other charges linked to his failed martial law bid in 2024. This is the first verdict in a series of trials for the disgraced ex-leader. The most serious charge he faces is on insurrection, where prosecutors have called for the death penalty. Yoon denies all wrongdoing, saying his actions were a lawful use of presidential emergency powers. That is the latest from CNN Newsroom.
Africa News. The news.
The Uganda's Electoral Commission has said that early provisional results from the presidential election show President Yoweri Museveni leading. The commission chairperson Simon Mugenyi said over 23,049 valid votes had been tallied by Thursday night as the 81-year-old leader seeks to extend his nearly 4 decades in power.
Yoweri Tuhaburwa Kaguta Museveni in the RM 14,232 votes, representing 61.7% of valid votes cast so far.
The electoral chief further said that the country's presidential election was generally peaceful and that vote counting had concluded in many areas despite the 1-hour extension period for the voting process.
Total number of valid votes for all the candidates so far is 23,049. Invalid votes so far, 796, representing 3.34% of the total votes cast.
The results come a day after voting took place under an internet blackout and amid long delays caused by technical failures as the 81-year-old President Yoweri Museveni seeks to extend his 40 years in power.
Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has for the first time expressed regret over the internet shutdown imposed during the country's disputed October elections, which were followed by the worst post-election violence in decades. Hassan acknowledged the disruption caused by the government's response, which included a 6-day internet blackout.
We acknowledge the challenges of the unrest and violence on the election day and shortly thereafter. Our response was essential to maintain constitutional order and ensure safety of all citizens and diplomatic community.
Violence erupted after Hassan won the vote with more than 97%, as major opposition candidates were barred and the main opposition leader remained jailed on treason charges. The president also announced clemency measures.
Thank you for watching Ahmed Shakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.